There's some Revelator songs that I'm like, man, we got to bring those back. But we've done so many songs and albums. There's like so much to choose from that I guess we don't think about it all the time.
You need to get you a really good slide player in Nashville, and you guys need to cover a Derek Truck song.
You know, he told me Susan wrote the song, which he was proud of. He said that with great pride, you know, the way you say nice things about your family.
From the first note with Tedeschi Trucks, they just blow you away.
Yes, we will. I wouldn't argue it could be my favorite song on I Am the Moon.
He, signs my ticket, and I look over at Susan. I say, Susan, would you sign it too? And she goes, oh, heck yeah.
Kevin calls me and was like, hey, man, what are you doing? I was like, nothing. He was like, Derek wants to record some tuba stuff. I said, when do you want to do it? And he was like, let's do it Wednesday.
It was Midnight Harlem. And it caught our attention, man. And we started diving deep and we're like, okay, we got to see these guys.
What's up? Welcome to the unofficial Tedeschi Trucks podcast. This is episode number 142, and I am Adam Choid, and I am not at the normal home studio. I am in New York City for the Beacon shows, of course, this weekend. Last night was night one. Super fun on Leap Day. I don't know the whole Tedeschi Trucks history, how many shows they've done on Leap Day, but I'd be kind of curious about that as well. But to follow this podcast, it's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. On YouTube, just search Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. If you're watching, you're already there. I will be putting out an audio version of this episode as well. I'm at Adam Choid on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to follow me, TedeschiTrucksPodcast.com for all things related to the podcast, AdamChoid.com for all my personal stuff and other projects. I want to get into this episode. I want to talk about the show last night and talk to Alan Paul. And we also have Bob Beatty, who's also going to be joining us. We got a couple of Allman Brothers experts who were there last night as well to talk about that. And Alan's going to talk about the Friends of the Brothers show this weekend. So many things going on. So many things happened. I feel like I lived a lifetime just yesterday coming in from Long Island, seeing the show, hanging out afterwards, talking to so many fans and people who love this band or part of this band. I don't even know where to begin, but let's bring in Bob and Alan, and hopefully they can help me sort out last night. I got the coffee. I'm a little, we're feeling a little bit, but we're good to go. How we doing, guys?
Coffee.
Doing good. Actually, I don't have a cup of coffee in my hand, but if I get up and walk away for a minute, that's what I'm doing.
Good to see us. I should mention that also I'm in this recreation space, so people could come in anytime. So if there's like kids who decide to play ping pong, a family, I will have to move. But there's Wi-Fi in this building, so I think I can keep the stream going.
Trying to shift away from that glary backlighting.
Yeah, not too bad. Everybody's looking. The morning sun looks good. You guys are doing all right. Where did you all come in from for the show last night? Start with Alan.
I just came in from 15 miles away in Maplewood, New Jersey, but I'm staying in the city for a few days because I was at the show last night and then have these late night shows at the Iridium the next two nights. And I'm lucky enough to be able to have access to a place here because these are going to be late nights for me. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go to the Beacon the next two nights, but I'm really glad to get in last night. I thought it was a spectacular show.
So I came in from Nashville a couple days ago. I'm staying on the Upper East Side with some friends. New York has been an annual run for me for many, many years, even prior to Allman Brothers playing Beacon. So I'm in town, and it's always good to have a place in the city, not have to trek back out, to Jersey or somewhere, to Long Island. Just get up in the morning, have your coffee, and explore this freaking amazing place that we get to see shows in every couple of years, or every couple times a year.
Yeah, I'll never stop complaining. And I'm pretty sure Jersey Transit's probably the same thing, where it's like if you don't catch that 1 a.m., that last train, whatever it is, you're not making any trains until 5 a.m. the next day. So you get stuck.
It's gotten better. Back in some of the early, they used to have really not a very late weeknight train on my line. It was fine on weekends, but I had so many nights at the Beacon with the Allman Brothers where I had to make these last minute decisions of when to sprint for the train. But yes, very nice to be here, and I'm in full New York mode. I just actually came back in from doing the opposite, alternate side of the street parking dance. I had to move my car. Now I'm good. I have not moved my car, and I'm set until I don't have to move it again until I waddle my way home on Sunday.
Bob, what shows were you seeing at the Beacon pre-Allman Brothers? You said you'd seen a bunch of shows.
I'm sorry. No. Allman. I came to New York for a number of years before I started coming to see the Allman Brothers. I was like from about 93 to 98. I was coming here a lot. No.
Not for shows, just to visit.
Just ABB and just TTB at this point at Beacon. Yeah, but New York is, it's like a trip for me. It's a regular thing, and I put up a little video yesterday. I went down to the Brill Building and the site of the Atlantic Studios where Allman Brothers recorded their first record, which is gone. And so that's what I do when I get to New York, is I just I hit the pavement and find what the city has to give me. So, I slept in today because I was out kind of late last night too. And, the show is mind-blowing. Plus, hey, there's nothing worse than being in a city and you're trying to get in touch with your friend to get a ride home and your fucking phone dies. And my phone died at like 11:15 last night, and my buddy was at a different corner than he said. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like, you're standing there, look, it's like old school. You're like, holy crap, how am I getting home without this thing, So anyway, everything worked out fine. I found my friend, because that's what New York does for you. Sort of like, Alan, your story about John Keehe's daughter, the guy who, designed the freaking iconic logo, and he's Alan's next door neighbor, and he never knew the connection. Like, it's just the weird way these things end up happening for people. Anyway.
Yeah, I have two totally relatable things to what you just described. The first one is I'm smart, and I was patting myself on the back for bringing a phone charger to the Beacon. I know where all the outlets are. I'm started becoming outlet expert level Beacon guy, but I think I either fell out of my pocket or I left it somewhere when I was rushing in to go see the second set. I don't know what happened, but I lost it and didn't realize it until I came home while the battery was dying. So I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? So I ended up getting a DoorDash charger to me, and then it canceled because they didn't have it in stock. And I said, no, get this one. I'm talking to the guy, and then I gave him the wrong address, but I eventually got it. That's part one, and it all worked out like your story did. Part two of the you never know who's living next door thing. I grew up in Dix Hills. I of course know John Coltrane and know his music and all that. Not super duper well, but everyone knows John Coltrane. But I didn't realize that he spent a lot of his adult life living in Dix Hills. They had a house there. Him and his wife Alice, they recorded a ton of music there, and they're like turning it into a museum and a space. It's literally across the street from the middle school that I went to for 3 years, and it's super close. We haven't had a chance to drive by yet on this trip, but we'll probably do that on Monday, if not go inside. So then last night we had of course the Coltrane descendant play with TTB, and that was super cool to see. So and I've been diving down that, especially the Alice Coltrane rabbit hole lately, as I dive more into the instrumental stuff and psychedelic stuff and jazz stuff and just appreciating Passaquan and Kebby and what they do even more on a whole different level heading into 2024 than even where I was listening to music last year. It's just my ear keeps changing and growing and things like that. But yeah, I'm already rambling about the music and diving into it.
Go for it, brother. Go for it. And now, just quick note, John Coltrane actually wrote a Love Supreme in that house. And if that's a reason to make that place special, which they are, I work in history museums and historic sites. So like, I've watched this project from a distance, but I think the most significant thing about that place, and I'm assuming Robbie from his marriage with Alice. So Robbie would have grown up at that house or would have lived there, but that's where he wrote, his epic piece in I think the upper like bonus room or whatever of that house. So it's pretty, that's amazing though, like how it all kind of tends to circle back around. It, like you said, it is, I call it mushroom magic. And I only say that because the mushroom is the Allman Brothers symbol, but it could be anything, you know what I mean? It's just like the way all this stuff sort of flows together for me, because that's the lens I'm looking through,
Right. I it's funny because I brought it up to my parents, and my dad loves jazz, and he's been on the podcast, and we talk about music, and I got so much of music influences from them. And I'm like, did you know about this museum? Have we ever talked about this? They're like, I don't know if we've talked about it, but yeah, we know about it. We donate to the museum and all and to the culture right there. Like they know about it. It just didn't, just some reason just slipped.
Yeah, and Robbie was born in that house. I mean, not sure. I assume he was born in a hospital, but he was born when they lived in that house.
Yeah,
and yeah, he's a great player and a great guy. He's popped up quite a few times with Derek. Maybe you have statistics at hand. I think it's been quite a while, at least that I've been aware of. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, to jump a little bit into the show. I thought it was pretty special to be there with him. And for me personally, I guess overall, like I loved the first set. Like I was really fully engaged, but in the second set, having Ravi was remarkable to me, and having It Ain't Fair for me, because I think maybe Bob and I have talked about this in the past, but that's one of my very favorite songs. I don't think I was aware of it as an Aretha song. I wouldn't be aware of it if it hadn't been for Dwayne and being on the anthology. It's not one of her better known songs, but first time I heard it, I just was so drawn to it, that everything about it, obviously Dwayne's playing, but I mean, heck, if it was just her and her playing piano. And I remember it was a revelatory for me because I was so moved by the piano playing on it. And I went to look who the piano player was, and it's Aretha. And then I started really paying attention to her piano playing and looking through track listings and seeing what she played on. And anyone can go down this rabbit hole. She's just a great piano player. Not in like a flashy, she's not Fats Waller, but I mean, what she plays is just so great, and of course accompanies her own vocals so perfectly. So it's one of those songs that it never even really occurred to me I would hear performed. I mean, Aretha, I don't know if she ever performed it, certainly not in the times I would have been seeing her. So it was really moving to me. And I saw that they had played it in Atlantic City. I wasn't at those shows a couple weeks ago. I thought it was awesome. They had introduced it. I've watched the video a bunch and dug it. But as we all know, there's nothing like being in the room live. And so I don't really, any show I go to, I try not to think about what I want to hear, because then you could be disappointed, especially in the world of bands that we're in, where people aren't playing the same stuff every night. I mean, you can't go to an Allman Brothers show and disappointed if you don't hear Midnight Rider, et cetera, so yeah, I don't think about it that much. But if I had, that would have been what I wanted to hear. And so when they started it, I was just so moved. That's it. That's what it was.
I gotta say yes to everything you just said.
Alicia sings it great, and she doesn't oversing it, which I think a lot of people, if their singers are good enough to sing Aretha, they sometimes then go over the top. And especially on a song like that, a little bit of subtlety in holding back is part of the vocal expertise, and she did it. And yeah, I give Susan a lot of credit. I mean, they've always, of course, given a lot of space for their vocalists in general. But a song like that's really, really a showcase for a female singer is a little different to me. And I think Susan deserves a lot of credit for recognizing that and accompanying her in a really beautiful way too. That's so. And then, of course, Derek playing homage to Dwayne in a way almost more direct, I think, than he does when he plays most of the Allman Brothers songs. Because after all his years of playing them with the Allman Brothers, I think he and Warren were so determined, for obvious reasons, to put their own stamp on things. They didn't tend to echo it quite as much, but on something like this, I think he doesn't feel, there's no, that constraint isn't there, if that makes any sense. So that was, and then Kebby playing just like King Curtis, which I don't feel like I'm sure I have heard him do it, but
no,
maybe not as directly. So all of that together is why I was so moved by that song.
She tells the narrative. There's a narrative. There's a journey. There's when Alicia sings. She doesn't she's, you know, there's a build up, there's a crescendo, and that's like Tedeschi Trucks Band's whole thing between like the, you know, the show within a song, these peaks and valleys within the show, within the song. I don't know who's got the siren going. One of us here. Oop, I think it was
It's
Alan.
Alan.
I muted him, but
it's the dynamics is what you're talking about. Like that's something that exists in, you know, in the Allman Brothers. It exists in psychedelic music in general. It exists in live music and improvisational music, you know, music that ebbs and flows. If you listen to Fillmore East, which is, you know, one of Derek's, you know, groundbreaking, the records that really shaped him, it's probably most of us too, we've listened to a lot. That's exactly what the Allman Brothers do. It's, you know, it sort of goes and up and down, and it's, you know, sometimes I'll talk about it as like classical for the Allman Brothers. Like classical music has, you know, peaks and valleys too. And TTB is a whole different animal, but you're dead on. And the couple things I wanted to say about It Ain't Fair before we moved on. Yes, to what Alan said, like I love it as a feature song. I like it as much as I Never Loved the Man. I Never Loved the Man the Way That I Love You, which was really Aretha's big first song when she went down to Muscle Shoals and recorded it. And Alan's talking about that piano part. When she sat down at the piano and made, you'll listen to that more famous song, I Never Loved a Man, which Dwayne isn't on. You'll hear her play those chords on the electric piano. And that, they say, when you go down to Fame, they're like, that is what clicked the session into shape when she sat down and played those chords. So, you know, that's a really good point that Alan made. And other thing that I really heard Derek do, it's interesting Alan mentioned King Curtis, because I heard Derek playing a lot of King Curtis too. And that was, you know, sort of the licks that I hear King Curtis play on It Ain't Fair, Derek was sort of channeling, and then he was doing his Dwayne stuff, and then the song just went somewhere else. But the piece I want to say, number one, is everything you said about Alicia was just awesome. And the way she stood there, delivered the song, you know, not over, like Alan said, not over the top, right in the pocket. She finished that song and the house was just shaking. You guys would probably know it too. Like she knew she nailed it. And she was walking back to the riser and she did a little curtsy. Did any of y'all see it? It was badass. I mean, and she was sort of doing it to the band and a little bit to the stage, and she got up on the riser, and Mike, they have a little handshake that they do, but it was like, they knew they nailed that song, you know, collectively. And that's the cool thing is I have so much fun just watching them play music. Like they could play just about anything. And it's just, you watch them move. It's like watching a really good, I call Derek a point guard. He's like a point guard, sort of dishing out like Steph Curry or somebody, dishing out assists, you know, making shots, you know, just, and it's, they seem to have so much fun. And I get off on that because if they're up there and just digging what they're doing, it does come through, and their music, you know, it speaks that way too. So I'm with you. It Ain't Fair was the one song I wanted to hear this weekend. Like
it seemed effortless. Over dreams. It seemed something about it. It seemed effortless for them. And even for the fans, the whole vibe. It felt like, obviously, it always feels like family to some degree when you come to the Beacon. So many familiar faces for me, you, all of us, the band, and everyone. But everything seemed. It's something about the whole, especially the set. Once they started, just seemed effortless for them. Everyone knows the Beacon. They know where to sit. They know where they drink. Everyone knows the bars and the restaurants. It seems like everyone's just so, you know, familiar with it. It's just everyone eases right into it.
It's interesting. That song was on the anthology too. And what Alan said, I think it was kind of lost to the world. And I interviewed Tony Yokin, the guy who produced that package, anthology too, a little while back. And it was amazing to me how casual the song list of it, Dwayne Anthology 2, how casually he created it. He literally did that basically on like the back of an envelope. Tony did, and It Ain't Fair was on there. And, you know, The Wait gets all the attention from Dwayne's work with Aretha, and it's great. But I really like It Ain't Fair. I really, really like, I'm with Alan on that one. Like, it is just a great, great, great Aretha song. I'll shut up for a sec. I see you guys are. All right, everybody's on mute now, so I'm gonna mute myself. You got to unmute yourself, Alan.
Sorry, I didn't realize that I had control of that. I was waiting for Adam to unmute me. Yeah, I don't want to go. Let Bob and I can start geeking out on Dwayne and take the focus away here. But I just need to say one thing. I tried to figure out and never did if how Dwayne was his idea to do "Hey Jude" to Wilson Pickett. That's well documented, and I'm really confident in that. And he came up with the arrangement. And I always wondered if it was his idea somehow to do the weight. Because it just would sort of make sense to me, but I've never nailed that down. So I'm sorry to tangent, but in terms of them having fun, yeah, I was actually in the first row of the Loge last night, which is really the best seat in the Beacon. I think, especially you can sometimes have more excitement if you're down in like the fifth row center. Lucky enough to have sat almost everywhere in the Beacon, and the fifth row center is where you can like have the electricity tingling through your ears, out your toes, all night. But for really sitting and like digging into the music and stuff, and it really just meditating with it, there's just no place better than the first row of the Loge. And part of what you get up there also is it's like watching a football game from up high, and you can see the receiver breaking free before the pass. You do have an awareness of what's going on because you can take in the whole stage. And that relates a little to what you were saying about like Alicia doing the curtsy and then shake. I was just, I felt a little more tuned into all of that stuff because I did have a perch to watch it. And it is, and also a really good place to watch Derek doing that point guarding you were talking about, which I think is true. And it's interesting. And I don't know. I haven't interviewed Derek about this particularly or talked to him. But with the new stage setup where they split the risers and rearranged it a little bit and moved the bass over to stage left, because Tim used to always be on stage right, kind of behind the organ when they didn't have a riser back there. And I saw some shows where Derek would sort of drift back there and spend so much of the show back with the sort of in between the bass and the organ, and to the extent sometimes it felt a little weird, like what are you doing back there? It's a chicken and egg thing. I don't know if he's changed because of the changed stage setup, or if they changed the setup so that he would push himself. But in any case, it feels to me like since then he's obviously like physically in the center of the band, which feels completely appropriate to me. Like I think it just really struck me again last night because of the angle I had and everything. I think it's a better setup, and it works really well. And it was just really apparent to me last night. And one other thing that I took in from up there that was kind of tripping me out is from a distance, not that he actually looks like him, but from up there looking down, Isaac was really JMO reminiscent.
Bro,
wearing a headband. He had a necklace on. I couldn't see what the necklace was, but from the abstract, his look of sort of a rangy guy with a headband and the necklace was so reminiscent of JMO. And there's some right hand things he does with the cymbals that are very JMO-like, both in terms of the sound and the actual way he moves his body in doing it. I have a little bit of a hard time describing it better than that, but anyone who has watched JMO or watched clips of him back in the glory days would know exactly what I'm talking about. There's just a certain way he's reaching his body and the shape of his shoulders, even of his sort of athletic build, I guess. It was sort of tripping me out a couple of times. There were a few points, and I liked the fact that I couldn't really see his face because it allowed that illusion to get other than both being African Americans, they don't really look alike.
Right.
But since I couldn't see his face, I could ignore that. And there were certain other things that were so reminiscent. So I like that. It was I don't know. It was
I saw that too.
Yeah, you have to ask him if you have a chance to talk to Isaac. Ask him about, or one of us should ask him about, like, how much literal influence does he have? You know, how much influence does JMO literally have?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious even what his own influences were beyond JMO. I mean, a lot of it might be that they have similar influences. I don't know how much of a jazz guy Brandon is. I really don't know. I've never had a musical conversation with him, and yeah, I would like to. I would value that.
So you should. His solo record's pretty good, and he does everything on it.
Yeah,
he's a New Orleans jazz cat, and yes, Falcon and Isaac were having a blast too. I saw. I mean, the same thing. Like Alan, I was front row of the balcony, and so I saw the same thing. And when I used to go see the Florida Gators back in the 80s and 90s, my parents had season tickets, and we sat up on like the 70th row in the Steve Spurrier era. And that was really what Steve would send out, like 5 receivers every time. And I would look upfield, like you said, and like try to see where the ball was going to go. And, it's the same sort of deal when you're sitting up close. You can really see the drummers. And I saw it like Falcon too. Like the whole time I got to watch them really well. I watched the singers. The people I didn't watch the most was the horns last night, except for Elizabeth over there boogieing her butt off. And, it's like everywhere I look, I don't have to focus on the guys at center stage or the people at center stage. It's things are happening everywhere. And I think Isaac has that Gulfport jazz, that Gulf Coast kind of thing. JMO's early career stuff. And he fits so beautifully. And it's interesting, Adam. I think that all of us, Alan and I in particular, but all of us, when you see the two drummer tandem playing music like this, you think, okay, it's, you want to hear the Allman Brothers. And, their first tandem of drummers with J.J. Johnson was fantastic, but it was more of a layer of sound, less what the Allman Brothers did with the two guys kind of playing something different. And Isaac just brought something completely different from the get-go. And I think it's interesting that, this album, this project, they replaced 3 people to put out, since Signs into I Am the Moon. So like, what is that? A quarter of the band, with Brandon and Isaac and Gabe all coming in. So they had a chance really to, reinvent their sound. And I think the drums, I really think Isaac has added, nothing against JJ. I love the original drum lineup, but I love, there's something Isaac brings. And I think it's the New Orleans funk and the New Orleans, drive that I really did. Bob Diggs, and I thought Brandon, I remember saying this when Brandon joined the band before the pandemic. And I was like, he is bringing the funk, man. Like it was just a different from what Tim did, as Alan said. He still stands there and plays all night, just like Tim did, barely moves. But, you see Brandon start nodding his head, or his head starts going in circles while he's holding the groove down. Shit is going down on stage. There is a deep, deep, deep groove going.
It's more funky than spacey. Is that fair way to describe? Like,
I would say so.
Tim was maybe more out there, and Brandon's more funky. I mean, I'm not the bass expert. I'm not the drumming expert, but I totally I really appreciate the knowledge that you guys bring to this conversation, and the fact that I don't even have to do anything. I just let you guys talk.
Yeah, dude.
The details about JMO is insane.
I think it was interesting. Like, Had to Cry Today is another song that was great to hear. What a fantastic song. It's Blind Faith song, for those who don't know, written by Steve Winwood. And it's funny, for some reason, I had a little bit of a brain freeze when it started. It took me a minute to realize what it was. And I was first thinking like, wow, man, Derek wrote such a great riff song. I was, and then as I started getting into it, I realized what it was. But it was great. And what was sort of interesting to me about it, and I'm the reason I came to this right now is because you were talking about the bass sound. The bass was really dominant in certain sections of that song in ways that I don't really think it is in the original, and in ways that a little unusual for TTB. Like I had one frustration I had with them early is I often couldn't hear the bass well enough as much as I wanted, even when it was O'Teal. I never quite understood if it was the mix or if that was intentional or what. But I don't know when that quit being something I thought about, but it did. And last night, even more so, I feel like they do have that sound dialed in more. Again, it might have even something to do with where I was sitting, because being up there, you really do have a great mix. But I thought, he did get. There's a section of that song that's I guess it's a bridge. It's sort of an instrumental section where the riffs are going and then the horns come in, and they held the groove for a long time, like before they kind of went to the next section. And it was almost like, it was very modern, it was almost like a techno electronic dance beat kind of thing. In which to the point that I actually thought they were transitioning into another song. I thought it was like a passage into something else, and it wasn't. It was a passage just into coming back, to the song. But during that section, like, the bass was just really, really dominant, and it did strike me right in there, like that was one example of something that is completely different with Brandon than it was previously.
I think it's
place where he really stepped up and steered the boat a little bit.
I think some of that influence might be, again, this is something I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't know if you heard about the Dead Ahead Festival in Mexico that Derek and Susan went to with Isaac and the Dead guys. Derek played. I keep talking about that. Derek played that set with Mickey on drums, and it was literally what you were describing, more of a techno-y drums, totally all instrumental, other than some vocal chanting and stuff, with Derek bass and just percussionists. And I don't know if you haven't checked that out, you definitely want to check that out. It's on thearchive.org, and it was streaming over the weekend on the Sirius XM Grateful Dead channel. But that is basically what you were describing. I think Derek is really really appreciated, like getting to just sit in a chair and just play more psychedelic slide music stuff and rock and bluesy stuff too, but a lot of just like what you were describing, just rhythms and psychedelic techno stuff.
That's really interesting. I tuned into a lot of the Dead Ahead stuff.
Indian styles also in there.
That Dead Ahead weekend, I never go to any of those things for a variety of reasons, but that was the first one that I was sort of like kicking myself and wish I had gone to. Because I like throwing people together who are kindred spirits, but not on autopilot at all, like that. And seeing what happens. And I would like to hear that, 'cause I do think it's really interesting. It's an interesting direction for Derek to explore. And I was thinking about it during that. This is probably only a 3 to 5 minute segment of the song that I'm talking about. But I did, like I said, I thought they were transitioning into another song, and it was occurring to me like, wow, I would like to hear them explore this. It's a fascinating idea, because when Derek has done stuff like that, it has been more directly rooted in like almost a traditional Indian thing, or sometimes like a free jazz scrunkiness. And this is a little bit different, it's like and I thought it sounded really good. So I am really curious to hear if that's something they explore more, if they're going into. I mean, I do feel like that section was unique enough. It could almost be like a song. I mean, it's like during there was a couple Allman Brothers things like in the latter era when they did a whole new center section of Rocking Horse. Yeah. That I always thought Derek and Warren were going to turn into a different song. Like it was all there to do.
Remember.
And I felt that way a little bit about this. So it'll be curious to see if this is a passing fancy. And it's interesting what you say. I'm going to look up the Mickey Hart stuff. I really want to hear that. So Brandon was the bass player on that with Mickey and Derek?
No, I don't think so. It was Isaac was a drummer. Was Isaac a drummer on that set?
I think Isaac was playing bass on that, actually.
Oh.
I think so. Let me check that.
I'll check that out too. Anyhow, it's an interesting. It didn't really occur to me that Mickey would end up being like the Grateful Dead member who sparked some new musical curiosity in Derek. But sure, why not? He's there's a lot of creativity at work there. So it's an interesting thing to find out more about.
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah,
check
it was
this.
Isaac. It was Isaac. It was Isaac on bass. I can't paste.
go.
I can't share my screen because I'm on this new browser. I'd have to restart my browser to be able to share screen. But I did paste the set lists into the chat on the video. I could paste them in the private chat also. If that's
Hey Adam,
helpful for you
how
guys.
do I tell my people I'm doing this live? Like, can you give me a link or somewhere I can put on my socials? Or should I just do this when it's over? I just realized this.
I'll post the link in the private chat as well for you. Right. There you go. It's a little sloppy, but it's there. All the songs should be there. They did cut a few things. I think that, well, looking at the actual set list, I think they did. Passacorn was supposed to actually finish the first set.
Yes. Yeah, you were right about that, though. You know, about what do you call it? You know, Susan having to come back, and then they had that song right afterwards. You know, that they started the second set with that you thought was going to be the end of the first set.
Right, but but I do see, looking at the actual set list on the papers, I Can't Make You Love Me was planned to start the second set, but they did cut Don't Drift Away, I think, from the encore in the second set, and just finished with I Wish You Well. And I think part of that is because they did some of these extended jams, and Had to Cry Today is definitely a beast of a song. Like to
I think once Robbie was involved, you know, in some of that stuff, they weren't gonna pull back on that. And you know, I talked to Kebby after the show, and he was just thrilled by having Robbie there. He said, well, he was trying to talk him into just playing the whole set. Kebby was ready and willing to also just walk off and give the spot to him. But
I was going to say his generosity too, like Susan.
Yeah. So, well, and he of course reveres John Coltrane, but he also reveres Ravi. I mean, Ravi has been doing this for a long time and is a significant, serious, well-respected artist in his own right. You know, which is Kebby reflecting. And I want to share one thing so I don't forget. This is a little off topic, but not really. I think people will enjoy this. So I was backstage afterwards, downstairs in the basement. They have a really nice green room, very lovely reception. They had a bar, and you know, it was very nice. And most of the band came down, and you know, there's a lot of friends and family there. Susan's brother was there, and I was waiting in line to get a drink, and there was a guy next to me, introduced himself. Nice guy named Harrison. I think he was from East North Carolina or South Carolina. We just started chatting, and he told me he was on a business trip to New York. He's a big Tedeschi Trucks fan, but he wasn't here for the shows per se. He didn't even know they were happening. And his trip got delayed. He was supposed to go home 2 nights ago, but something happened. His flight got delayed, and then he set up another meeting, so he's going to be here until this morning. And he goes by himself 2 nights ago to Keen's Steakhouse because he didn't have any plans for dinner. He tried to go eat at the bar. Keen's is a great old school New York steakhouse. So he goes in, sits down at the bar, has a drink, and he looks up, and Susan and Derek are standing behind him waiting to get a table. So he says hi to them and introduces himself and just says he's a fan or whatever. And you know, and he was embarrassed to say, he said to them, "What are you guys doing here?" You know, and they said, "We're playing the Beacon the next 3 nights." And he was like, oh my God. Yeah. So they started chatting, and Susan and Derek hooked them up with tickets and backstage pass, obviously, because I met him backstage. And it was really, I just love that. I mean, I think it's pretty amazing. I probably shouldn't say this publicly because now people are going to think if they run into them, they can get tickets. I think it was a serendipitous thing that happened, but I thought it was really cool, and I thought it speaks a lot. It says a lot of nice things about them. Put it that way.
Yeah, don't everyone do that.
Yeah. I'm sort of, as soon as I was sort of telling this story,
it's all good.
But it is a good story.
He didn't ask for it. This guy definitely did not ask for anything.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that's the piece, right? Is if the mushroom magic, such as it is if you're there and things like, you know, that's the way this stuff works. If you're there and you're available and you let the universe do its thing. And I realize that sounds hippy dippy, and frankly, that guilty as charged, but you know, it does it can manifest itself and come. And I'm not saying that outside of the music realm at this point, right? I'm not meaning anything about, money and jobs and career the way people say it. But when it comes to like pursuing something like this, it is there. And yeah, I mean, I think some people will always bother stars for stuff. And many of us will just sort of bump in when we can, and I think it speaks very well of a lot of things, right? That happened. And speaking of, by the way, I need to say, so Gabe is too far forward in the beacon where the lights can't see him.
That's what I was going to say. He needed better spotlight, and especially in the
he's in the dark. I think he killed it last night, but the one that really got me, and it brought the waterworks. It ain't fair. Definitely brought the waterworks. I didn't even realize I had teared up until I wiped my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, because I just was so moved by that performance. And then it was either Gravity. No, Soul Sweet singing, Soul Sweet song just freaking slayed me. The song about Kofi, and he wrote the song about Kofi, and sang it. And it just like that song sort of sums up the spirit of the room, for me. And just the time I enjoy with that band. I really do. And by the way, I love the new light show. I did not like last year's light show with all the crap coming at you. It really was too much. I love the new light show. The green light that came down, I don't know if y'all saw it. It looked like the Emerald City for a little while. It had the state. Remember those big lights that came down? They were like, there was 4 of them. And they cast this green. It was like Oz to me.
I feel like they combine I was going to say, I think they combine like the best of the arena lighting with kind of the best of what they were doing beforehand. Yeah. I'm not a lighting expert, but that topic did come up a lot like last year when their lights were just too bright and too intense and fans were complaining. So maybe this podcast there's some credit for the conversations that had here in terms of like, we all, the fans, I think, knew the new lighting was going to be somewhat of a work in progress, and they're consistently like changing some of the graphics and backdrops and things as they evolve and put out new music. And I think I'd love to see some of the Kofi stuff. I obviously always come back if they can work that. But yeah, the lighting was good. No seizures for anyone last night.
Man, that what they did last year. I was at the Fox Theater when they debuted it, and it was like, bah, bah, and it was the second night was better than the first night because I knew to expect it.
There was just one moment like that last night.
Yes.
Literally, it didn't last very long, and it irritated me. So, that's why it's not crazy when people wear sunglasses on stage, as crazy as it can kind of look. But when you're on stage, you have that light on you quite a bit, and that's half the reason Stevie Ray Vaughan wore a big hat, just for instance. I mean, it's not totally obviously it became his identity, but wide brim hats and sunglasses are not insane on stage.
Right. I'm just glancing at the set list here. I have it in the chat and in the private chat, and just like so many things jumping out at me. I like the way they started Gravity, more of like an instrumental, easing their way into it with like some Derek soloing and thing. I think that was a little bit different how they started Gravity. Last Night in the Rain, one of my favorites. And Alicia again on I Wish I Knew, just so much passion like that she sings with. It's like it really rocks the room, and it was a showstopper. Like when she went into It Ain't Fair. I'm jumping all over the place, but so many things are jumping out at me. And Susan doing Had to Cry Today. I think Gabe usually takes the majority of the lead vocal the last bunch of times that they've done it, or at least starts the song. I think so. To hear her start the song, I think that might have been something different. I'm sure an expert can clarify that. But yeah, anything you guys want to talk about last night, I'll give you the floor to jump. Any day with the Blue Sky teases, those are always stellar.
I had just stopped recording. Like I was just recording, just for S&Gs, and I had just hit. I was like holding it, waiting for the blue sky because I kind of thought it was coming, and I freaking missed the button to hit it. I was like, oh, this will be cool to capture, for myself to watch one time, and I missed the button because I don't watch my screen when I record. I like to watch the band. Like recording is ancillary to me. I can't stand it when people are. I'm being judgmental, of course, but when you're standing there like looking at your phone, and the band is like right there. And it's like, no. Like, lower the phone. Look at the band. The phone will be there, That's just Bob. That's Bob being a bit of.
I'm working on that. Like you don't have to look at your phone and you could still record. I'm also not tall enough. That's my other issue, but that's a whole other. I can't yell at people for being too tall.
I very much like to not film stuff because I just want to keep my phone in my pocket. But I do have an active Facebook page, and people like seeing it. And so I feel a little weird. Like I feel like I want to. I want to, like, people want to see stuff, and so I like to give. But I was with my friend Ripper last night, and he was doing a little filming, and I said, just airdrop that to me at the end of the night, because so I got the best of both worlds. I had a designated filmer who was a good friend of mine, and he's a very restrained person, so there wasn't much. So
right,
I'm doing that too.
Yeah, sometimes you could get into thought where it's like, oh, there'll be plenty of pictures, there'll be plenty of videos, there's plenty of audio, everyone else is doing it. But at the Beacon, yes, but sometimes you go to TTB in another venue, there's not always someone taping the shows, there's not always a ton of YouTube videos out there. Sometimes you have to be that person because you're going to appreciate going to YouTube or archive.org and being able to hear the songs or watch these videos. And then some of these videos from random TTB shows, like, they become things that I click on thousands and thousands of times, and that could be your video. So it's like, for me, it's like a balance of, like, being in the moment, getting a little bit of stuff for Instagram, a little stuff for YouTube. You have your different outlets, but not the whole show. I don't want to be holding a camera the whole show or anything like that, or phone up.
You mentioned Adam about sort of the things you've watched repeatedly, over the years, right? The versions that like jump out at you, right? So, for example, the February 23rd show of 2019, which is a few days after Kofi died, is probably one of the most powerful shows I've ever listened to in my life, because you can hear them. They're channeling a lot of emotion, and they had kind of, by that point, gotten over the shock of his death. It was a couple days after his death and going. And then for me, with a band like TTB that has such a deep catalog and has been playing, Road Dogs for now 13 years, a lot of recordings and stuff, it comes to me usually with individual performances within the sets, right? And I said to my buddy Gary, the chairman, shout out to the chairman, Gary One Way. I said last night after It Ain't Fair, and I keep hammering on this one, but I said, I cannot wait to be listening to that song the rest of my life. Like, I want to hear that version. I want to hear the nuances, because it was really, again, that curtsy was a cool moment, because it was, she knew she fucking nailed it, and everybody knew she nailed it in the room. Everybody on stage, they were rooting hard, they're rooting for her. That's what you do for your teammates. And just the way she just walked away after just slaying that song. I don't have to see it ever again. I can just listen to it and it'll do the trick for me. And, I learned a long time ago, chasing all the live stuff and all the versions. Like I know the Allman Brothers catalog through like 72, 73, and then the 90s stuff that I either listened to or attended. But after Warren rejoined the band, I kind of lost show by show, because every show was really special. So then you got to be like, okay, what songs do I like on this set, and listen to them that way. Or I end up listening to whatever's on, whatever's streaming or on Spotify. TTB is a little different because not a lot of it is on Spotify. So I got to go seek it and this or that. And like, all to say that It Ain't Fair version is for me an all-timer. And I've had, I can't wait till, I haven't listened to it yet this morning. I was just doing my social media stuff at Long Live the ABB, y'all. I was doing all my crap, but I put up video, like you said, Alan, where I'm staying. He recorded some killer video of Derek doing Passaquan, and then Susan on How Blue Can You Get. And then I had these two little snippet videos of It Ain't Fair, and people go bonkers for it. 45 seconds of something. Okay.
Yeah. How Blue Can You Get is also worth mentioning. When I was in high school, I don't know, maybe 9th, 10th grade, I'm not sure. I read in probably Rolling Stone or something about B.B. King live at the Regal, and it was like the greatest album of all time or whatever. So I went and bought it and put it on a tape, because I used to listen to everything on my Walkman. And I walk around listening to that. And I listened to it so many times. Like I know every note in it, every little like rap that BB makes, and where the crowd screams, and it's real. It's one of those albums that's like really in my DNA. And the lyrics, the lyrics to How Blue Can You Get, especially the stop part where I gave you 7 children, now you want to give them back, and that whole section just slayed me. Like my whatever it was, 14, 15-year-old mind was sort of blown by that, and the way the crowd responded and roared every time. I was fortunate enough to see BB do that, and so I got to see BB King many times. But that's another one where like I mentioned about It Ain't Fair. It's not quite the same because they've been doing it for a long time, as I've heard it on the recordings and seen them do it a bunch of times. But it's still like a jolt for me every time, and it takes me back to this really pure place in my own heart where I was discovering this music and developing this incredible passion and love for it. And one of the things that I think, and I've known Derek, I've sort of known him since he was 12 or something, but like I've really known him since he was like, I don't know, 15, 16. And he's gone through a lot of changes in some ways musically, but the thing that has been really consistent with him, I think, since the very beginning is this purity and like this intensity to how he approaches things. And certainly with the blues stuff and his reverence for it. And I think Susan shares it too. I just don't have the same depth of understanding of where she's coming from as I feel like I do with Derek. They won't do stuff like that. They won't do a BB King song unless they really can do it justice. And so to hear something like that, a song that has meant so much to me, done in such a true way that honors the original, but while putting their own thing was really meaningful to me. So, I just wanted to give that a shout out.
Yeah, I dig. My version is from the Cook County Jail of How Blue Can You Get? And I have the same thing as you, Alan. Like it's all every note, every nuance, everything else. And I have a great story I'll tell about this, and I tell on several podcasts over the years, but I might have said this to Adam before. But many years ago, in the early 2000s, I was teaching a history of rock and roll class at a community college in Orlando, and I had my blues week, which actually it was my blues and rhythm and blues week, kind of like electric blues, and I was playing at Cook County Jail, and there's a super long intro to How Blue Can You Get? And I remember a student goes, BB's just doing his thing, and student goes, when's he going to start singing? And I looked at her and I go, he's singing right now. As he was just, y'all know BB. I mean, he's the man. He's the man. So, no, that they, Derek, when they dig into the BB stuff, like you can tell that's DNA. And that's, by the way, that's Dwayne's DNA too. Pretty much any guitarist, blues guitarist or anybody does that. Like BB is one of those people that is just changes your world. And Derek channels him really well. So does Susan, differently. Yeah. But you can tell he studied his BB King and feels it. And, that was one of the things about Dwayne. And they said repeatedly, he was, he couldn't get enough of BB King and what he was doing, particularly all the WLAC stuff when he was first playing guitar. And Dickie Betts was a big BB guy, although a little more Albert, at coming out. But BB is such a foundation of all of this. And Susan kills that song. She kills it on vocals.
She adjusts. I was gonna say she adjusts the $50 dinner to $100 for inflation. I don't know if you guys mentioned.
Yeah, that. Yeah. I was actually thinking last night. I think she needs to adjust it more.
Yeah.
In New York, I mean, $100 dinner. That's nothing. That might be like falafel and shawarma.
Hey, BB sang a $10 dinner. I don't know if he sang it on Regal. Yeah. I know on. Okay, so he sang it on Regal too.
You might have even said a bunch. Yeah, it might even be 5. I have to go back and listen.
I think it was 10 because I remember when I heard it going $10 dinner. What the hell, But the best line of all, I gave you 7 children, and now you want to give them back.
Yeah, that's still a lot of kids.
probably one of the best blues lines in history. Up there
Yeah.
with "I woke up this morning" kind of thing.
Yeah. Well,
That's
not to
blues
mention,
right there.
nobody loves me but my mother, and she might be jiving too.
That's actually probably the best one. You're correct. Another BB song.
So I'm supposed to be somewhere at 12:15. So
right. I was gonna ask. Yeah.
I'm okay, but I have to wrap up in a few minutes. So I want to make sure I give a shout out. So we're doing these post show parties tonight and tomorrow night at the Iridium. That's Friends of the Brothers with special guests from the Tedeschi Trucks Band. The horn section should be there, or parts of it at least. Who knows? We'll see who shows up. But Gabe, I believe, is coming for one of the nights. He told us he is, and we're hoping for a big turnout. And both of the shows are pretty much sold out. As of last night, there were about 20 tickets, more or less, for each of them. Before I was the last updated before I went to the show last night. So should be something less than 20. So we'd love to have you there, but move quickly if you want to come, because it is going to sell out, which is great. It was a concept I had, and it really harkened back to post Allman Brothers shows at the post Beacon shows at the Iridium and BB King's on those were the two places that I went to that had most. I saw Colonel Bruce a bunch. Derek would come in and play with him all the time. J-Mo jazz band played. There was many others. So I thought, well, let's try it, see what happens. And it seems like it's working, and we're really excited about it. So Friends of the Brothers features me and Junior Mac. Who's played with Tedeschi Trucks many times, played with J-Mo for 15 years or so. And Andy Alador, who played with Dickie for 10 or 12 years. So we'll be laying it down. We're basically an Allman Brothers celebration band, but who knows, with our special guests, we can and might play anything that they want to play when they come.
I'm going to say I've seen Friends of the Brothers. Your boy right here, 3 times New York Times bestselling author Alan Paul is making the transition to performing the music and playing it, and he's gathered a killer ass lineup. And Junior Mac, I just got to say, is like one of my favorite of all of the lineage of Allman Brothers. He's one of my favorite performers. I love him as a front man. I love how he carries himself. I love how he plays and sings. Like, I would follow that man. Well, Alan knows I tried to see him on Broadway the one night ever a Broadway show got canceled.
And I forget, Junior, why was it canceled? Was that weather?
Ruben Blades was sick.
Oh, right.
And he was the centerpiece of the show because I guess there was no understudy or something like that.
Yeah, it was a one-man show. It was a two-man show with Ruben playing a bunch of different roles and Junior on stage playing guitar. Yeah, I remember that's a bummer.
I was texting you going,
I remember. I just forgot why it had happened.
This. Yeah,
it was a great show. I saw it 3 times. I wish I could have taken you.
Junior's a real talent, man.
Yeah, Junior's great. I've been a fan of Junior's for a very long time, but we've been playing together in this band since we formed in 2017. It never really was supposed to be a band. It was a one-time thing to celebrate Butch. I put it together because when Butch died, I thought nobody's going to honor Butch because, he's the drummer. People don't make tribute shows to the drummer. But I thought it had to be done. So I put it together. It was really a one-time thing. And we had so much fun. And we sold out a club in New York. And, we just all said, hey, let's do it again. So, and it was also Peter Levin from the Greg Allman Band. And we just played, our last show was 2 weeks ago in Long Island with Peter. He still plays with us when it works, but he moved to Nashville. So he's not around as much. But it wasn't like a calculated thing like, hey, we can get gigs playing Allman Brothers music. It was just that we all love this music so much, and we're all friends and enjoyed, playing it and doing it. So, and Junior, what I was going to say is, as much as I've been a fan of Junior's for years, and friends with him for, a long time too, but playing all these shows with him, which I don't know how many we've done since 2017, but I don't know, well over 100, a couple hundred, I guess. It's incredible standing next to him every night. And I sing some stuff. I used to sing more, and I was just sort of like, why am I singing? I mean, I'm sitting next to honestly, I think he's one of the greatest singers. So, if I was in a band with Susan, I wouldn't sing unless she had a sore throat or something and asked me to. And that's pretty much how I feel about Junior. He's a fantastic singer and a great guitarist, and it's an honor and a pleasure to play with him and Andy and the whole band. Everyone in the band is great. The guys have been in, it's guys from the Zen Tricksters and Tower of Power and all kinds of things. So it's really fun. If you are up for making it up late and you're in town for these shows, try to come to one of them. But again, I'm not trying to just sell tickets. I mean, I am, but I'm pretty confident we're going to sell out. There's less than 20 left for each night. So if you have a hankering to go, please get them.
Yeah, super intimate venue. I don't think I've been there. If I have, it's been a long time. The Iridium, Friends of the Brothers. The tickets are at the Iridium's website, from what I understand.
Yeah, it's iridium.com, and I have the links on my Facebook and all my various.
Hey, don't
media.
tell anybody till I get my freaking tickets here, okay? Like, hold on.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
If you get shut out, let me know. But I honestly, we have it's only 160 seats, and so we have a tiny guest list, and people's wives are coming. So I'll do my best to take care of you.
Oh, well, and I'm I'm willing to pay and everything. Like,
I know, but there will be a moment sometime soon where you can't get tickets. So
I'll let you know if for some reason I get shut out. Tonight's my night. If I'm going to go, it'll be tonight probably. Okay. My wife comes into town later tonight.
Okay.
Adam, man, thank you for having us, dude. I love your pod. We haven't given you a lot of love here, but I fucking love your podcast. I've loved it from the beginning. I love your spirit. Adam and I hooked up last night at set break, gave a big hug, checked in, and it's not New York for me, TTB, if I don't get a chance to see you and catch in, check in a little bit, and your love for this band and what it does and your understanding of it. I mean, we talked a bit about Gabe last night, and I'm gonna throw out a Gabe thing to, the obvious thing to say is, when the Allman Brothers lost Dwayne, they added a keyboard player who just completely revamped and changed the band. And I mean, it's too obvious an analogy to the Allman Brothers that TTB did the same thing. And of course, it's many years later. Kofi died, many years after that band had started, unlike the Allman Brothers when Dwayne died 2 years in. But man, Gabe just brings so much. And he was hidden last night because the lights didn't shine on him, but he was playing his ass off last night and always. So Adam and I had a little talk about Gabe last night, and both of us how much we respect him and how much work he's been putting out, man. He's just constantly releasing music and doing stuff. And he's a Nashville cat. He's one of my neighbors, if you will. Yeah. And so I get to see him a decent amount.
Yeah, he's great. I was actually a fan of his solo work. I read about him in the Bob Lefsetz column newsletter long time ago, like 15 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, and his first album came out in 2008.
Yeah, so it was probably around then, and I downloaded it. That was still purchase and download stuff just on Bob's recommendation, and loved it. And it was in a pretty heavy rotation for a long time. So when he popped up as a member of TTB, I was sort of taken aback. I mean, that's not the right word. Surprise, yeah. Taken aback sounds negative. I just was surprised because I had them in two very different parts of my brain, and I think it's been a great combination. He adds a lot vocally and songwriting wise and instrumentally, obviously. His solo stuff is more. I mean, his piano playing is great on his solo stuff, but it's more. I don't know, almost like Elton John-y. It's a very distinctive style of piano playing, at least of his earlier stuff. I'm not as familiar with his more and so I guess I just had no idea of his full versatility. He still has elements of that in some of these songs for sure.
Yep.
But he does all the organ stuff and the whirly and everything and clavinet. It's cool. It's really great, and I'm really psyched that he pretty confident is going to be popping up at the Iridium with us one of these nights. That'll be fun.
That's killer.
Good stuff. Thank you for the kind words, Bob. I appreciate that. And it makes me think about just like how much of a charmed, lucky life I've just lived in this whole podcast world, in this Swamp Family TTB world. The number of amazing people I've had the chance to speak to, meet, say hello to just yesterday and over the years has been super cool to me. And it's like you said, Bob, just like kind of letting the universe do whatever it's going to do, like, and not chasing any sort of specific song or experience or conversation or interaction with anyone. Just let things, just enjoy the music and just let things where they're going to be. And like I said, I've had just an amazing last 24 hours already, but I'm going to get kicked out of this room. I know Alan's got a commitment to get to, and Bob's got several tickets to purchase.
I got life to get back to too. So yeah. Hey,
friends
Adam,
of the.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're welcome. I was gonna say, friends of the brothers Iridium. Long live the ABB on Instagram is you, right?
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to say? Plug, mention about the shows, or
we both have books. He's got 2 bestsellers.
Yeah. Well, you can look us up, and my books are Brothers and Sisters, and One Way Out are about the Allman Brothers, and Texas Flood, Stevie Ray Vaughan bio. But I'm easy to find. If you have any questions, drop me a line. Hope to see some of you at the Iridium. I'm sorry that the only downside of these Iridium shows is I can't be at the Beacon tonight or tomorrow. But forget about what I said about keeping the phone in your pocket. Take lots of great videos, and I'll watch them.
Right, you got your fix last night.
Let's get
No, I can't do everything. I'm happy with where it ended up.
What's that, Bob?
I'm putting a plug in for Junior to play Come and Go Blues on the set. I don't know if it's on the Friends of the Brothers set, but I could listen to Junior sing the frickin' phone book, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I don't think Come and Go Blues was on our set list, but we can be.
Listen, anything Junior wants to play, and I don't want to jump over because we're here really. I'm a guest of Adam's. This was Alan's deal, but I'm looking forward to it, fellas, and really seriously, it's just fun to talk shop, and it's good when you have a little bit of a concert hangover, the joy to be able to talk about it a little bit with fellow, people in the know who get it and are as excited to talk about it as we are. So I appreciate you having me, Adam, and Alan. Looking forward. So we will not see you until late night,
correct?
Like 11, 12 o'clock.
Yeah, but if you're meeting up for dinner or drinks before the show or whatever, text me because I might be able to join you for that.
Okay, we'll do. I'm at Long Live ABB on all the socials, y'all, including YouTube. So I just want to let you know, and I'm in touch with both of these guys on a regular basis. So,
all right, okay, thanks, guys. See
Adam, you wrapping us up?
I'm good. Yeah,
wrapping it up. Thanks, guys.
All right, y'all.
Bye.
Be good. Peace.
See you later. See you in a bit. So there you go, episode 142, recapping night 1 of the Beacon, talking Friends of the Brothers shows. Alan Paul, Bob Beatty. Super appreciate their level of expertise, their time, which is, it's still, I guess it is PM now, but it feels kind of early still. But hope everyone's doing okay out there. Please check out at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. Please follow on whatever platform, follow and subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. That's definitely appreciated. Subscribe on YouTube. I may have said that already. I'm at Adam Choit on Instagram and Twitter, adamchoit.com for all my personal stuff, TedeschiTrucksPodcast.com. That'll send you to all of those links to social media for the show, as well as ways to listen and watch. TedeschiTrucksBand.com. That's their official website. Definitely buy tickets to shows, buy merch. A bunch of tickets just went on sale. I know there's some pre-sales and whatnot coming up. I don't know the exact dates on those, but obviously a bunch did just go on sale with the Swamp Family app. So definitely scoop up some tickets to the summer tour, to the Deuces Wild tour. I think that's pretty much all I got for today. Thank you to the crew. Thank you to the band. I think I literally thanked them all last night, or a handful of them, for all their work and what goes into these shows, which sounded and looked totally amazing. And I cannot wait for tonight. I haven't posted it yet, but I am planning to do a recap again. I'm thinking Monday night, probably 9 or 9:30 or something, recap nights 2 and 3. And I'm sure we'll talk some Friends of the Brothers as well on that. I figure I'll give everyone Sunday to travel home and then try to get on maybe as many fans as I can who were there this past weekend, who will be there this past weekend, who will be this past weekend on Monday night. So that's something I'm looking forward to. I'll post that. I'll also try to get up the audio versions of this podcast, this episode as well soon. I don't know when I'm going to do that, but maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe when I get back to LA. But everything will be up on YouTube. It's been super fun. I'll try to live stream some more later today around the venue. Just say hello on Instagram or whatever. So definitely follow on Instagram as well. I'll go live outside the venue a little bit, as well as stream some shows. But that's pretty much all I got for today. And let's talk soon. Peace.